Hey guys, Steve here from Restalgia, just putting together an update video for what we can expect coming up with the latest BleemSync hacks and when we can expect to see those coming. So there's been a bunch of information that's populated over the past couple or so days, and I just want to go through some of that with you guys and tell you exactly what is going to be changing, what you can expect from the next update, and when hopefully we will see it. So let's take a peek at the information that's been posted. So I'm just over here on Reddit, and I'll make sure that I leave a link to this in the description down below. But this was a post that was made by Swingflip. So if you're unfamiliar with who Swingflip is, he is one of the developers that does a lot of the work on the PlayStation Classic hacks. He is part of the Mod My Classic team, and he does a bunch of stuff. I'll chat about him a little bit later, but he's the one who's posted all of the upcoming release information and the status updates and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to scroll down and take a peek to see what is happening and what we can expect. So it looks like the first thing that we can see here is that they are not going to be releasing a BleemSync 0.7, and they are going to instead jump forward and release a BleemSync 1.0. And the reason for doing that is because they've put in so much work into achieving the 0.7 milestones that they've gotten there, and they've actually advanced and developed above and beyond what they had originally planned for that 0.7, and they seem to be closer to the 1.0 milestones. So what they decided to do was scale back in terms of their deadline, and they give themselves a little bit of an extension, and they've kind of focused on and honed in on getting all the information that they need and all the coding done for a 1.0 release. So that may or may not be a good thing for some people. I personally think it's a great thing. I'm a big fan of bigger and better releases with longer breaks in between, or longer periods of time in between, rather than having to constantly update your hack every week or every other week. It just makes things a little bit more convenient when you get a solid, stable build and you don't have to worry about to do an update every week or so. I personally like that. So that is one thing. Okay, so let's jump into some of the things that are going to be changing in the next update. So I guess when we're talking about the next update, I'm talking about BleemSync 1.0 rather than 0.7. One of the major updates that they're going to be doing is that the BleemSync application that you would click to sync all of your games onto the USB drive to create that regional file is going to be a little bit different. So it's actually going to be an actual application with a user interface, and through that user interface you are supposed to be able to organize your games a little bit better, possibly capture data. It's going to be a lot more intensive and much more user friendly. So I think that's a really awesome, super awesome feature that they're going to be releasing. I'm very excited to see that, and I think it'll kind of step up the game of this hack so far. Yeah, it says on release, this UI will allow you to sync your bin/queue/PBP easily to your USB for your PlayStation Classic. It should allow you to change your BleemSync configuration along with boot configuration from a simple to use form. So that sounds like really good. Now, clearly they've got there in brackets that it's time permitting, but I think they're probably going to get there, and it looks as though they're waiting to release until that's at least completed. So that looks fantastic. I'm excited to see how that's going to work. The big thing in there in that last paragraph that I just read is that it's going to have PBP support, which is fantastic. Anybody who is familiar with Raspberry Pis and has been downloading games for PlayStation on the Raspberry Pi knows that if you want the absolute best experience and the easiest to use files, you want a PBP file. The reason for that is because if it's a multi-disc game, it's going to come as just a single file. It makes things substantially easier, and they generally are smaller. So rather than dealing with an entire disk image, you're dealing with just the game itself. So the files tend to be smaller, which means that you can load more onto it. So what they were expecting to do with the 0.7 release was a complete overhaul of the payload, and it looks as though that has happened, and they've included a bunch of features like the PvP support, customizable boot menu, ability to sync eMMC games on top of USB-based games, custom RetroArch themes, scan lines, bezels, overlay support, etc. All those things look like they are coming, so that's awesome. So the other big improvement that they've got is there's going to be a substantial improvement in boot times. A lot of people who are running 0.4.1 recognize that when you are loading up your PlayStation Classic, it can take some time, and it looks as though this has been resolved. So it looks as though with their alpha 0.7 release that they're working with, it takes 4.38 seconds to boot. And that's to run all the hacking injections, but it looks as though it's going to be 10 times more work, but it'll take a fraction of the amount of time. So that is awesome, and I'm looking forward to having that run and see how that works. But other than that, there's not a whole lot in terms of additional information that they've provided. One thing that I do want to touch base about is Swingflip, the gentleman who posted all this information. He has a YouTube channel, which I'm going to click over right over here. And if you actually just go into the YouTube search bar and you type in Swingflip, you'll find him. Make sure if you're interested in getting more information about how the actual hacking happens, you go and you subscribe and turn notifications on, because he's been doing some live streams of the actual hacking process where you can go in there, you can ask questions, you can make suggestions, you can get more information about what exactly he's doing in that moment. And I tuned into the last one that he did, which was about 15 or 16 hours ago, and it was quite an interesting video live stream. So if you guys want to see kind of the inner workings on how this hack is actually coming together, that's where you want to go. So make sure you head over to Swingflip's YouTube channel, subscribe to it, turn notification bells on, and check it out if that's something that interests you. Some people aren't interested in the back end, they just want the final product, and that's cool. But if you're one of those people that wants to know how everything is working and what all goes into something like this, this is the channel to keep your eye on for the next little bit. So absolutely check it out. But other than that, there's not a whole lot more to talk to you guys about. I will provide as much information as it's coming out as I can, and I am looking forward to the next release. Once the next release comes out, I'll put a video tutorial together to show you guys what's changed, how to install it, and how to get yourselves running with it. But until that happens, I'm going to just keep my eyes out and see what goes on. So thank you guys very much for watching the video. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.